Veuillez accueillir le président du conseil d'administration de Destination Canada, Monsieur Ben Cohen-Dewar. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the chair of the board of directors for Destination Canada, Mr. Ben Cohen-Dewar.
Good afternoon. As many of you know, Destination Canada is the country's national marketing tourism agency, and today's annual public meeting is a chance for us to share with you, our industry colleagues, tourism partners, and the Canadian public some of the highlights from the past year and what's ahead. Destination Canada's job as the country's tourism marketer is to drive visitation, to inspire travelers to choose Canada over the competition. We're here to support you and your business, create jobs, drive investment, which amount to a thriving visitor economy. Most of you have heard about Destination Canada's work, its innovative business and consumer marketing, its data and intelligence, leading industry shows and events, and business and incentive travel. But some of you may not have seen it, and that's because so much of what we do takes place outside of Canada in international markets. Today is a chance to share some of those key areas of focus, some successes, some challenges. 2017 was obviously a record year, and 2018 is forecasted to be even better. In telling these stories, David Goldstein, President and CEO of Destination Canada, will focus on the broader tourism sector, a sector that impacts you and Canadians from all coasts. Before we hear from David, who has this unbelievable screen and doesn't need the podium, although I didn't find that out until I was standing at the podium, we're going to see a video with a preview of the highlights from the past and a preview of what's to come at today's APM. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Bon après-midi à tous et à tous. Bienvenue à notre réunion annuelle publique. Encore, je suis David Goldstein, président et directeur général de Destination Canada. Ça nous donne énormément de plaisir pour moi d'être ici, puis par rapport de notre équipe ici sur le plancher et autour du monde. Again, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. It's a great honor for me to be here on behalf of our entire team, both here in the room and around the world, who will be joining us or be watching by video. As Ben said, we've had a tremendous year. 2017 was a tremendous year. 2018 is turning out to be a tremendous year. And it's usually the job of an annual public meeting to talk about sort of the last year. And I think we wanted to take an opportunity to give you a sense of what the future looks like and how we see our passion and our role as part of the broader visitor economy. Before I continue, I want to thank, is my friend Charlotte Bell somewhere here? I want to thank Charlotte and her team at TIAC for a fantastic job at the Congress. And it's a great opportunity for us to bring our public meeting here with so many friends and colleagues in the industry. I want to thank the industry folks for being here. I want to thank the folks from the public who have joined us today. In particular, I want to thank Ben and the board of directors who are sitting here. If you guys could just stand up and get acknowledged by the crowd, I'd appreciate it. So what drives us? What drives our passion? It's really this notion of what our impact can be as part of the broader visitor economy, and how the work that we do can change lives. Changes the lives of the people who find opportunity here. It changes the lives of people who visit Canada and get to take that experience home. There's been a lot of talk over the last few days, and I think today we should make it official. I think we should stop talking about travel and tourism. I think we really need to start talking about the visitor economy and the impact that we make in the visitor economy. So let me give you just a snapshot of what we think at Destination Canada that means. This is Lunch for One. She's a German foodie blogger who happens to be enjoying a cup of coffee in a coffee shop in the Byward Market about 3.5 kilometers from here. And it's this cup of coffee, and by the way, we can't see the toasted bagel that she's ordered, which is on its way. But this cup of coffee changes the country and creates a ripple effect that we believe is the foundation of the visitor economy. Now, a lot of us in the travel and tourism business, we're pretty accustomed to this part of the screen. This is the Airbus flight that she arrived on from Frankfurt at Montreal Airport. Some of the people on that plane ended up going to a convention in Montreal. Some of them traveled on commuter and short haul and longer haul. Some of them got as far as Vancouver. That's the sort of our traditional view of what the travel and tourism economy is. But on this side, there she is in the Byward Market. She found apples from the Annapolis Valley. She had a bagel which was wheat that was churned from Saskatchewan. The folks who worked the rail lines brought them that wheat. And every person along the way, all the people along the way, were part of that long chain of economic prosperity that I think we should be referring to as the visitor economy. And that's from the visitor's perspective. But I believe that translates into the passion of Canadian entrepreneurs and the risk that they take as they build their businesses around this economy. And I want to introduce you. I'm on this journey today. I'm going to invite some friends along for the ride, and I want to introduce you to. Oh, I'm standing in front of it. Happens to be a friend of mine, Kylie Taylor. Now, the term trailblazer is overused too often. This guy is truly cutting trails with his tour company in the Northwest Territories, and I want you to get a couple of minutes to get to know Kylie a little better.
I'm Kylie Kassoon Taylor. I own and run a company called Tundra North Tours in Inuvik, Northwest Territories. And we're a Canadian signature experience. Tourism is by far the best avenue for reconnecting culture and resource. For me, as an Inuit person, I can't afford or have the time to go out onto the land to practice my tradition, but it's my job now. I get to go out and practice it all the time and be out on the land while making a living. And I've been able to share that with as many people as I possibly can. The benefit to a community that has a vibrant tourism industry is undeniable. It's really important for me and been really powerful for me to create jobs that weren't available in my community for people that have gone away to get education outdoors or tourism or guiding. They couldn't come back to their community because there was no job in an industry or in a way of life that they wanted. And we've created that so people could come back and say, oh, I'm a cultural guide now, and that's how I make a living, and that's my dream, is what I wanted to do.
Thanks, Kyle. So our team at Destination Canada is constantly thinking about both the people who we inspire to come to Canada, but the people who inspire those people on a daily basis. And to create that environment of success, that ecosystem of success, there's really three areas of focus that we sort of use as our clarion. First is the Team Canada approach. The second is data-driven marketing, so that we're making better decisions. And the third, and we're going to talk a little bit about this, is what is the next era of travel? We know that things are fairly successful today, but what does the future look like? I know John and Chantal did a great presentation yesterday, for those of you who were here, on sort of future-proofing from a marketing perspective, but we're going to talk about some of the broader structural issues that I think we have to be maybe not wary of, but thoughtful of as we move forward as a country. First is, of course, the Team Canada approach. Some of you were here last year when I, together with 25 of our partners, the provinces, territories, the major cities, and a nation-to-nation agreement with ITAC to form the North Star 22 coalition. Now, North Star had been underway for about a year and a half, and this is a lot more than a memorandum of understanding. This is an active, ongoing partnership with set goals of trying to achieve 25 million visitors, spending $25 billion in Canada by the year 2022. But this extends more than the North Star partnership. And I want to share some of those partnership successes that we've been able to exploit over the last year or so. China. This is a great example of our Team Canada effect. Consider that China is about to become the second largest inbound market to Canada. 2018 was named as Canada-China Year of Tourism. We deployed a series of additional tactics as part of our campaigns to try and drum up that interest. We're almost at 600,000 visitors as of September, so we are going to well surpass last year's visitation targets. And we now know from our research there's over 10 million Chinese who are interested in traveling to Canada in the next 2 years. The ability to expand and connect with those people and give them a reason to book Canada now, that's what we're really trying to do. And this is where the content piece and the partnership really comes to play. So I'll give you just one sort of tip of the iceberg example of the success of the campaign. Boy Nam, who is, I had not heard of him before, but apparently he's a highly known Chinese fashion and lifestyle influencer. He has almost 8 million followers on Weibo and WeChat. And we did a series of tactics in conjunction with our partners in Toronto, where's Joanne? There's Joanne, and Destination Ontario, with a series of pieces of content across various platforms, and this video piece, which just had 3 million impressions.
仙塔曾经是全世界最高的建筑，能一览多伦多的全城美景，所以必须先来这里打卡。
Now I know you all understood that, but he's talking about what a great time he's been having in Toronto. Boy Nam is an influencer that targets free spirits, a very important profile or a very important customer for us in China, 35 to 44, hugely connected. And when we take this with a bunch of the other tactics that we ran throughout the CCYT year, the survey results are really encouraging. 72% of those surveyed were aware of the Canada-China Year of Tourism, and 68% who saw it said it greatly affected their interest in traveling to Canada. I'm going to pause for a second, which will the guys in the back don't want me to do. But here's an interesting part. Next year is the New Zealand-China Year of Tourism. They've actually asked us to come down and explain to them what we've done right, because we are now the best practice in this area. And when I say we, that's we and all of the partners from coast to coast to coast. These weren't our only CCYT initiatives. We had trade missions, we had pop-up stores, we had targeted campaigns on the Chinese websites, and the result is over 98 million views on Weibo and WeChat for our efforts this year in China. You can give that a clap too. But these partnerships are not just restricted to our DMO, PMO partners. We've actually been doing some fairly interesting and cutting edge stuff with some commercial partners as well. And I want to talk to you about our recent partnership with the Stanfield International Airport in Halifax and WestJet, supporting their new route, their direct route from Paris to Halifax. Thank you, Andy. Andy, you didn't get a seat up at the front, or they don't upgrade you in WestJet? Is that the... So what do you think when you think about Halifax? You think about great seafood, you think about the music scene, you think about food and drink, you think about hospitality, but we wanted to take it further. We didn't think that this was just a Paris-Halifax route. We believe this could be a hub route for all of Atlantic Canada, and wanted to find a way to showcase that all of Atlantic Canada and all it could provide to French visitors for Canada. So launching next week, so you're going to get a sneak peek at this, we did a program with a highly visible influencer, Victor Mercier, who was top chef finalist from Paris, and a huge foodie blogger in France with a huge following. Well, I'll give you a sneak peek look at that campaign.
Salut, je m'appelle Victor Mercier, j'ai 28 ans. J'ai été récemment finaliste de l'édition 2018 de Top Chef. On est sur la côte est du Canada, le côté atlantique, et on va justement découvrir ce que cette partie du monde a à nous offrir.
We're going to head along this beach. This is a beautiful area. I've been picking this area for...
Laurie, c'est simple. J'aurais pu passer un mois avec elle. Elle connaissait tout son environnement, elle y portait une grande attention, et j'ai senti que j'aurais pu beaucoup apprendre à ses côtés.
Doing it properly and sustainably, right? So I'm going to cook up some scallops for you.
All right.
Yeah. So these are the scallop shells of here.
Get around.
Yeah.
It is beautiful, Laurie. Saint-John et Terre-Neuve, c'est très différent d'Halifax. On est dans une nature qui est beaucoup plus radicale, on va dire. On se doit à la limite de savoir pêcher ou chasser. Ce qui m'a le plus frappé au Canada, c'est la facilité avec laquelle les Canadiens établissent un contact humain. Les gens se parlent sans se connaître, s'intéressent, s'écoutent. Ici, le respect de la nature et la prise de conscience de son environnement, c'est quelque chose qui est acquis, c'est quelque chose qui fait partie des mœurs. Et ça, pour moi, c'est vraiment quelque chose de déterminant pour la suite de ce que je vais proposer aux gens.
Merci, Victor. And this outreach doesn't stop there. That's just a small sample of some of the direct-to-consumer campaigns that we've been working on. But outreach goes much farther than that. Our media and trade events, Rendezvous Canada, Go Media, Showcase, all had record attendance this year, both from international buyers and Canadian sellers, and shows a really strong interest in Canada going forward. And one of those areas that we have spent a great deal of time and passion nurturing is our Indigenous experiences. Earlier this year, we signed a new 3-year MOU with our friends at ITAC. Keith's here. Why don't you stand up? 3 years ago, we had a dream of creating pride of place for Indigenous product at Rendezvous Canada. We started out with an Indigenous pavilion, I think of 6 or 7 Indigenous entrepreneurs. I think this year was over 40, and will continue to grow. And not only is it an important step from our part as part of reconciliation, but it's darn good business because customers around the world love this product, and it distinguishes us from our competitors on the global stage. So thank you very much. And then there's more. There's a whole ton of work that's going on with our signature experiences as we continue to work with them in events like Canada Shared, hosting buyers, opportunities to help grow. And we know that this program actually makes a meaningful impact on the lives of many of these entrepreneurs. I want to introduce you to one of those today. Her name is Michelle Ng. She's the owner of the Vancouver Foodie Tour. And let's take a listen to what she has to say.
So being a part of the Canadian Signature Experience has really allowed us opportunities to reach our clients in markets in ways that we wouldn't otherwise have. As a company, we're looking to make those meaningful connections for our guests to a city. And we're looking to provide an immersive experience for them. That's really the beauty of travel, and increasingly, people really want to get to know a place through its people, definitely the food, and the culture, architecture, all of which we offer on Vancouver Foodie Tours.
Thanks, Michelle. And before I move on to the next segment, we can't express enough how important these partnerships are to the effectiveness of what we're doing. I have just been, as many of you know, this is trade show season, so I was with many of you at WTM in London. We had our showcase show in Beijing recently. This fall, I've probably sat down with 45, 50 of our key accounts around the world, and they continually tell us that the Team Canada strategy is giving us a competitive edge over the UK, Australia, even the mighty brand USA. So I know many of our North Star partners are in the room today. I'm going to ask if you can bring the lights up, I'd like you guys to stand and be acknowledged. So now I want to move on to the second section, which is our data-driven marketing approach to help us make better decisions. The team at Destination Canada has been dedicated to a series of initiatives in order to improve not only the understanding of who the client is, where they are, how to find them. And last year, so whether it's the new EQ 2.0 that we're working on, whether it's the research that we're doing on attitudes towards travel, all of this is culminating in a new project. Many of you were here last year when we signed a groundbreaking MOU with Stats Canada to really get to more timely, reliable, detailed information about spending patterns of international travelers. So we, together with Stats Canada, launched this initiative to track credit and electronic transfers so that we can have a better understanding of what customers from what countries are spending what where. Now, I'm standing in front of a map. Some of you will recall I was in the broadcasting business for 20 years. I get a little nervous in front of a map because we used to have a joke that the person who made $100,000 a year who got to be wrong every day was the weather person. I'm not going to give you the weather today. We are going to talk about this program that we call the Tourism Intelligence Platform. It sounds really nice. But if you don't tell anybody, our secret code name inside is called Project Jerry Maguire. Now, I'll give you one guess as to why we call it that. Okay, now do it all together now. You could do this. Come on, one more time with feeling. Doesn't that make you feel better? I'm going to show you the money. So, By taking this data and working it through with our various models, we now have a much better understanding, right down to the regional level, of where our customers are spending money and on what different categories. So let's, there's Cindy Addy. Let's pick Alberta. That worked better in rehearsal. We can now map out within zones and subregions of the province, or a province or a region, the various zones, and then we can zoom in even farther. So let's, again, I'm going to pick on Cindy because she's in the front row. Let's try Calgary. And just for, let's pick a country, let's say Mexico. We now have a much better understanding of what the Mexican traveler, when they're spending money, how much they're spending money, and we could track that against the calendar year. We can then track that against other countries. Like, let's look at the US spend in that market. We can now also have a much better detailed analysis of what they're spending money on. So for example, let's take accommodations. In Calgary, the Mexican traveler is spending 14 cents on every dollar on accommodations. That's slightly lower than the Canada average and quite a bit lower than the Alberta average. So let's take a look at food and beverage. Look at this. 33% or 33 cents out of every dollar is going to food and beverage, 27, 29, I think you get the point. Let's look at retail. 18% on retail, or 18 cents out of every dollar, 19 and 14. So what does this mean? That means that when we enter into campaigns with our friends at Travel Alberta and Tourism Calgary, do you want me to get out of the way, Cindy? Do you want to? Okay, we can send this to you, by the way. When we're entering into those campaigns, we have a much better idea of who the customer is and what they're interested in. And just on the surface, it looks like a culinary campaign would resonate really strongly with those Mexican travelers. That is going to give us a huge, huge advantage. And it's data partnerships like this that really are going to forge our future as we enter into what is really going to be the next era of travel. So we're looking at the future. And there's a lot of things that are working in Canada's favor right now. The brand has never been stronger. There's excitement about Canada internationally right now. And we've had a series of really successful years, but there's always room to grow. And why is that important? There's a clear reason why it's important. But from a macro perspective, this is the most significant or the largest services trade sector in the Canadian economy, making up 19% of services exports with over $21 billion. For us to get this right on an ongoing basis, not just Destination Canada, but the entire community, is going to be really, really critical for the Canadian economy going forward. So we need to take this seriously. So what can we do? There's some things from a marketing perspective with our partners that we're going to continue to strengthen. And I know John spoke to some of this yesterday, so I know there's some members of the public here who weren't there, so I'll go through them fairly quickly. There's many things that we can do to continue the current successful path that we're on. First is to maintain high seasons. Compression is not a dirty word. It is a challenge, but we can't run away from our high seasons because it's important to maintain that integrity and that strength, especially in our major markets. But two, we need to strengthen our shoulders. We need to find the right combination of marketing techniques to entice people to try experiences that are not necessarily in those peak seasons. And next, journeys further afield. This is particularly interesting, especially amongst millennial travelers who are not afraid to take that next step, a little bit of a step off the pavement, and really features into those broader experiences of Canada. I'm thinking of the North, I'm thinking of other natural products. But we always have to engage with our partners. Better data, better campaigns, stronger partnerships, better results. Now, we can't do it alone. At DC, we can't do it alone. And we can see that despite the successes that we've had over the last few years, there are clouds on the horizon or potential headwinds. So in advance of that, together with our friends at ISED, our host department, we wanted to take a hard look at not just the marketing challenges that Canada faces, but some of the structural issues that we're going to face to create a sustainable business model for tourism in Canada from between here and 2030. We have lots of data, but we thought it was time to have a true third-party independent analysis of what our competitiveness looks like against our global competitors. So we asked McKinsey & Company to come in and do that report. And it will be, I think it's going through final edits and translation, but I suspect it's going to be published in the next couple of weeks. So keep posted, stay posted. And there's good news and bad news. The good news is that the demand for Canada is actually higher than even we anticipated. So the 25 by 25 by 2022 is actually a fairly conservative projection from our perspective, or from their perspective. But interestingly, the structural challenges of labor and infrastructure and transportation are really the biggest challenges that we're going to face. Now, that's not going to surprise a lot of people in this room, but the way McKinsey has been able to qualify it, quantify it, we think and we hope is going to be very helpful as a contribution we want to make to the minister as she goes forward to build the federal tourism strategy, which we believe is going to be announced early in 2019. So what does this all come back to? Why is this all important? It's not about a cup of coffee. It's about the people who are inspired when they travel to Canada. It's about the people who are part of that visitor economy, who participate in that visitor economy, and it's the people that are inspired to partake as part of this industry. I'm going to leave you with one last vignette of a friend of ours. His name is Matemo Chevalier. He's been a lifelong member of the tourism industry in Canada. He is probably one of the best ambassadors you'll ever meet for Quebec City. And let's hear what he has to say.
Le Québec a une couleur unique. La ville de Québec a aussi est une nuance de cette couleur-là. J'ai grandi à Québec, j'ai été guide touristique à Québec, puis de fil en aiguille, en étant dans le tourisme, en travaillant dans l'hôtellerie, en étant ambassadeur de ma ville, ben, ça m'a amené à faire la promotion de ces événements-là, qui sont des événements identitaires forts, qui sont attachés à la vie des gens de Québec. Et le Carnaval de Québec, c'est près de 500, c'est plus de 500 000 visites. Les Fêtes de la Nouvelle-France, c'est plus de 150 000 visites. Le Carnaval de Québec, c'est plus de 150 000 nuitées qui sont directement attribuables à l'événement. C'est des retombées économiques de 21 millions de dollars pour Québec, pour la province de Québec, le Carnaval. Donc, c'est des événements qui sont très forts, qui sont très importants. C'est 254 emplois qui découlent du Carnaval de Québec. C'est plusieurs centaines, proches d'un millier de bénévoles pour le Carnaval, plusieurs centaines de bénévoles qui s'impliquent dans les Fêtes de la Nouvelle-France. Donc, c'est des événements, c'est du temps libre, c'est du plaisir. Donc, on vend du bonheur. Puis, ben, moi, je suis très attaché à la ville de Québec.
Merchants of joy. I love that. Merchants of joy. Joy not just for people like Mateo, who's part of the industry, but in all the lives that we touch. When you think of the person who served you lunch today, when you think of the person who caught the salmon that was served on your plate at lunch today, when you think about the cup of coffee that you're going to grab on the way to the airport, when you think of all of the people who are going to be part of your life, knowingly or unknowingly, as they get you safely home, that's the visitor economy. Those are the lives that we touch if we're doing our job and our partners are doing our job properly. And it's about the people that are here in Canada, and it's also about the people who come, they visit us, they touch Canada, and they take a little bit of Canada home with them, what we call transformational tourism. And one more number, because I know I've hit you with a lot of numbers today. If you come to Canada, you're 4 times more likely to come back and 7 times more likely to recommend it as a destination. What a powerful piece of public diplomacy that is. That's how we change lives. That's how we make Canada come to life, not just here, but around the world. That's what gets us out of bed in the morning at Destination Canada. I want to thank you very much for your time and attention today. We'd be really happy to take questions from the floor, so thank you very much.